about in Bangladesh, Mark?
Yeah,
How was your day?
it's another hot and sunny day, so usual for us.
Yeah, well, very cool. Not cool, but very understandable.
Yep.
Is it hotter than normal or about your normal heat for the day?
Yeah, I would say it's the same. Yeah, it's the normal heat. So we are used to high 90s around this time. Yeah, it's normal.
So we're actually going to be in the low 90s today, and that's about normal. But tomorrow, the high is going to be 60. We have some kind of a front, and we haven't had any clouds in the sky for days. And right now, I'm looking out my office. So as I look that way, there's over the top of my monitors, and I can see outside, and there's a cloud layer that just real light clouds that look like they're coming in. Um, I see we have Doug Ness's note taker. It's always surprising me when you see the note takers that are those that aren't ours. And anyway, this is a Talk with Wayne session. Yesterday we had Tomas, and boy, if you haven't listened to that replay once Mark gets it up, you really need to. When are you going to have that up, Mark?
Probably later on today. So
Um,
end of by the end of today it'll be done.
and it isn't necessarily that Tomas is the world's greatest speaker, right? He's good, but he's not awesome. I'm not awesome. Okay. I'm not bad, but I'm not awesome by any means. Um, you're going to hear in a second somebody who is awesome. I'm going to give you a real surprise today, everybody. But and we're going to listen to it. It's a little bit of a replay, but it's going to be what was live last night. And I was there, and I have permission to play a little bit of it from the speaker himself. And I don't think I've talked about this one to this group. Mark has heard about it, maybe because I did talk about it at a staff call that we had yesterday. Mark, do you know who I went and saw speak and got to actually meet with him privately for about 45 minutes before he spoke? And then I even got to talk to him for a couple minutes after he spoke. It was a guy, so I've given that part away. And I would say for many of you, he is considered in the area of regenerative living the GOAT.
So is it Joe Salatin?
You weren't supposed to say anything, Mark.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I
Okay.
told you guys all that yesterday. Yes, it was Joel Salatin. So I was with Joel last night in Nampa, Idaho, at the Nampa Civic Center with about 1,000 other people. I'm guessing the number. I don't know exactly how many were there. And Joel talked for 45 minutes. Actually, I recorded it and it's 48 minutes. So it's just a tiny bit more than 45. And I'm going to summarize today what he spoke about in in this presentation, and it's going to be my summary, but I'm going to interject some of the live recording that I have of it that you can listen to. So you'll be able to hear just little bits and pieces of Joel talking live. I actually didn't start the recording right away until he was just a tiny bit into it. And we're going to just quickly answer a call related to my farm that it's valuable for this, but just a second, we're going to do that. Well, Joe, you are now going to be on live with thousands of people in the Talk with Wayne episode that occurs every Thursday at 3 to 4 p.m. Joe Biagni, everyone. Joe, talk to us.
Hello.
I hope you had a better reason to call than to say hello. How do the drillers feel about it? Where did you end up putting it about? And they thought that was all right. I mean, we didn't get to chat to find that that was a place. And did they then? And then did they tell you what they're going to do with the other well? And maybe they've already done it, because I'll tell you what Chase told me. By the way, everybody, this is our drillers, and we've had an exhausting experience over the last couple of days, which I'll talk about. I actually have put into a couple of LinkedIn posts, but I'll talk about later. But we're going to have a talk about Joel Salatin today, Joe. But anyway, what else? What did they say about capping the one that is now our dry hole? What are they going to do, or what have they done already?
Sensor.
Oh, I didn't. No, oh, so there wasn't any that they did have something they could sense, because we will be having 1,000-foot sensor, so we'll be able to get to the bottom of it. Okay. All right. And is it the cat? How about, is it a 2-inch, inch and a half? So the sensor that I have is about 1/2 an inch in diameter. Well, that's going to go down it fine.
It's 2-inch.
Okay. Okay. Yes, should have been 6. Okay. And so that they talked about, and the guys in the field may not know, but they're now supposed to put the pump in at some point, the pressure tank, and that's probably it. I mean, that's the and the motor. The motor. But just know that I'm not sure you follow what I was asking, Joe. I think part of what at least we've had quoted from them is the next thesis, which is that no, yeah, I don't think they would be, but so whether we pump it directly from the well there into a cistern that sits, let's say it's right next to it. Okay, let's say we just dig a hole right there, and which I'm not sure we'd want to do. Let me tell you why that doesn't maybe make sense to me. Because how deep down did you say they found water? Same distance we would have thought, right? Because it's the same distance from the dug wells, 5 feet. So if we put if we put a cistern, which is going to be a lot bigger than 5 feet, it's going to be sitting in water, which I'm not sure we want it to be. So I would think we'd rather pipe up to a cistern we bury in the ground up on the hill. Then we can gravity feed from that cistern down into a treatment system, or we can treat it before it gets to this. It doesn't matter. The treatment's going to have to go on one side or the other of the cistern. And then we have a float or something in the cistern which turns the well on and off. Is that right? Am I picturing that right? Okay.
Yes.
All right. All right, cool. So one last ranch question, because I just didn't know the answer. Is fencing more today, or is today a day off?
Thanks.
Oh, it's done. Is it? I was gonna say the concrete's not all in yet, right? No. Or- When will they? Yeah, it's because it's going to get a lot cooler. Has the weather begun to change yet? It is here. It's already getting cloudy here. It's not cooler yet, but
That's why it's
okay. All right. Well, I better get back to Joel here to my webinar that I'm doing. Thanks. Talk to you in the morning. Bye-bye. Okay, everybody. That was real economics. That's real ranching, real farming. Life is not sometimes just totally like you read it in a book. Again, I'm not going to talk about it in a lot more detail today, but we have been in the middle of a bunch of projects, fencing, putting a slab down for a building, using 2 shipping containers as parts of that building. So we heard a little bit about that at the end. But the big thing that's not a good thing, this is a horrible thing, it might drive a bunch of you out of the business if you had to incur an expense like this. I hope it wouldn't, but we have a dry hole 900 feet deep in a well. Don't anybody guess a number unless you think you have some kind of an idea of the depth, excuse me, the cost. But how much did that dry hole that produced no water cost us? Anybody's got a guess, put it in the chat. And we'll see how close you are. And so you heard we were able to get an exemption or a waiver from the state of Idaho. We had to go through a whole process to do this, to allow us to do a shallow well that is just 18 feet deep. We know there's water about 5 feet below the surface that is called groundwater, because we have shallow wells that are 5 feet below the surface and have water in them one of them down to 23 feet and another one down to 26 feet. And they are 3.5 feet around and 4 feet around. And they are old hand dug wells, we think from the 1870s, at least we believe. Well, we know they were dug. We have records, we have written records, and we have images, old photos from before 1900 of what they looked like at that time. And a little later into the 1910s or 20s, we have photos of a windmill that was pumping water from these dug wells, and they are in the shallow groundwater below our site. But 900 feet from surface down, every foot as we were going down, once we got below 35 feet, we were looking for water, probably wondering why 35 feet. In Idaho, and every state's going to have different rules, but in Idaho, every country's going to have different rules. It is illegal to drill a well of which the first 35 feet are not sealed. without a waiver like we just got. And you are only given a waiver if you can prove that there won't be water deeper. And the only way you can prove that is usually by drilling. So as we drilled down 900 feet, we didn't find any water at all the layers. And we have very specific drill logs, which says exactly what the earth was like as we were going 900 feet down into it. And that was mainly lava, which is a igneous rock, hard rock. It was clay, which is dense, but not as hard as rock, but is impermeable to water. And what we hoped to get was some gravel, which is where there would be water. And we didn't hit that anywhere in that 900 feet going down. So we lost a lot of money. And I'm not going to give you the number right now. Maybe you would do some research, think about it a little bit, and maybe I'll give it later. But it's a big number, and it's big enough that it probably would put most farmers out of business if they had to do it for their lives. They'd quit. They'd be done farming. Fortunately, we're a little better off economically, and we can put up with it. It will hurt us badly, but we're not ready to quit. We're not going to leave. It's probably why no one else has ever done any kind of well drilling out in this area. There are other wells, and they've hit water at 800 feet. They've hit water at 400 feet. They've hit water at 500 feet. We have records of about 25 wells within 10 miles of us in the middle of nowhere where we're at. And we are the only dry hole that this well driller, and they've been in the business 15 years, has ever had. And very unusual. But guess what? Life throws unusual stuff at you at times, and not so good stuff. And this is one of those things that wasn't so good. And matter of fact, like I said, for most people, the cost of dealing with this would put them out of business. They'd be done. They'd have to file bankruptcy or do whatever and just be done. They wouldn't be able to continue. Horrible problems can occur. Anyway, we're going to talk about Joel Salatin. So I'm going to share the screen here. I do see at least one hand up. We're not going to let anyone speak here yet today. We might later, but I want to get through some of this. Let me ask the audience, how many of you have heard of Joel Salatin? That's a weird screen that you're seeing. It's a Zoom screen, but I'm going to switch it here in a second. I have his website. Come on, get out of here. There we go. This is Joel's website. Are you seeing the screen, Mark?
Yes.
Okay.
Polyface.
Yes. His farm is called Polyspace Farms. This is Joel walking with cattle out in the field. And he is putting down, that's electric fence that he's got there. Obviously, it's not electrified yet. Joel is 68 years old. And in many people's minds, he is considered the GOAT of the greatest of all time, is what GOAT means in the whole field of holonomic, earth improving farming and ranching. He's spoken all over the world. He's been written about in headline articles and things like the Washington Post, Time Magazine, The Guardian, The Atlantic, New York Times. They're real farmers. This is not just Joel, who's a great speaker, and he is a great speaker. I'm going to play him talking in just a minute here a little bit. These are the books he's written, and there's just a few of them. He's written a lot more. These are all things they sell at their farm. The farm is run by Daniel, his son. This is just showing you how you can shop at their farm. There is Joel And walking next to him is Daniel. They look a little bit alike, wouldn't you think? And they don't necessarily wear clean pants. Here's Joel speaking to a group of people. Here's some of their hogs. Here's some of their greenhouses. This is the health of their soil, health of their cattle. Those are amazing looking cattle. Let me just show you how often Joel speaks. He was wearing that shirt, by the way, yesterday. He wasn't dressed this nice. Here's his schedule in 2026. Look at just June. All right. He was at his own farm in early June. He was in Virginia at Home Educators on June 5th. He was in Columbia, Tennessee on June 6th and 7th. He was at his own farm again on June 8th to 11th. He was in Swope, Virginia, which is near his farm, on the 12th and 13th. He was at another place in Virginia on the 14th. He was at another place on their farm for 6 days in June. He was at Sugar Creek, Ohio for the Food Independence Summit, June 18th and 17th and 18th. American Highland Cattle Association in Pennsylvania on the 19th. The Jackson Ridge Homesteading Festival on the 20th. He was with me yesterday, and it wasn't in Boise. It should be in Nampa, Idaho. McIntyre Pastures is a farm that's been around since 1910. And then he's headed today, driving up to the Modern Homesteading Conference in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, which is tomorrow, Saturday, and Sunday. And then look at all the things he's doing in July. I mean, I'm not going to go through. Look at how much he speaks. And now I'm going to play him a little bit, and you're going to have to tell me, Mark, if you're hearing this, all right, when I play it. I think
Okay.
you'll hear it just fine. And I just gotta find it here. There we go. Oh, got the wrong one. It's playing a different one.
Oh, we don't see or hear anything.
No, you're not seeing anything, Mark. I didn't get anything visual. This is just him talking. Were you
No,
hearing it or not?
no audio was coming through.
No audio. It was
Yes.
speaking to it just as loud as I'm speaking right now. How could that not be? I don't get it. So all I'm doing is talking to a microphone that's sitting right here. So you're hearing me fine?
Yes. Could
Okay,
hear
well,
you, but couldn't hear the phone or you're playing.
yeah. Again, Alicia keeps raising her hand. Alicia, I'm gonna let you talk for about 20 or 30 seconds, but please don't just ramble or whatever. Mark, go ahead and unmute Alicia.
All right.
Alicia's amazing as one of our contributors. Go
All
ahead,
right.
Alicia.
So yeah, she's able to talk now. Go ahead, Alicia. Unmute yourself. Okay, so yeah,
We'll
whenever
go
she's
on. We'll move on. All right.
okay.
So we're going to do a presentation that Joel did. Why am I not finding it here? Okay, let me see. I thought I just saved it and it should be right here. Well, I will go click there and here's where it is. I don't understand how it could literally, why is that not starting with the first slide? Here we go. So what Joel called his presentation was dancing with dinner. So you've heard of there's a show out there on video, TV, whatever we call it these days. It's called Dancing with the Stars. And there's movies that have been made with dancing with whatever, dancing with Elvis, dancing with Frank Sinatra, dancing with whatever. But what the whole point of his talk was when you dance with someone, especially if you continue to do it. So you dance with them tonight, you dance with them a week from now, you dance with them a month from now. As you continue to dance with them more and more, there are certain things that you find out about them. And they're all here on this slide. And I don't know why I thought I put it into slide view. Come on. There we go. There, that essentially you have with that person that starts with interest. First time you asked them to dance was because you wanted just they look cool. I want to dance with them. They're probably amazing dancers. Over time, if you continue, you either dance more that same night, day, whatever it was, or you ask them to dance a week later, or you ask them to go to a dance with you 2 weeks later, or whenever that would be. You probably are learning more about how compatible you are together, not just on the dance floor, but throughout your life. How compatible are you with that person? Then finally, after that, you move to reputation. You learn about how are those people thought of by others? What are those people that are around you that are dancing? Do they know that person? And do they know you? And what do they think about you? So your reputation. Then, and these don't always go in the same order, but they usually are about the same order. Then you find out about their background. Where'd they come from? Who are their parents? Where are they from? Then this might even be the most important of all these is, are they really showing you themselves? What are they like in the middle of the night when you wake up and you're sick and you need some help? What are they like when you wake up in the morning and they're not in a good mood and you're not in a good mood? How transparent are they? Then you maybe want to know a little bit about their knowledge. What do they know about things? And what do you know about things? How compatible is that with each other? And then finally, are they going to always be there for you? Will they be able to dance with you today, a week from now, 2 weeks from now, a month from now, 5 years from now, 40 years from now? Well, his talk is about that same set of relationships, but with food, with what you eat. So, and he will argue, I will argue the same thing, that we need to, in our lives, build a relationship with food. And many of us need to rebuild it. The current relationship we have is not very good. So and I'm just going to summarize a lot of the things that were part of this discussion. One of Joel's reputational factors, things about him, is that he truly believes that we as humans should have a relationship with our food. We shouldn't just be eating it. We should know who the animals were that we're eating, or about them, not as individuals necessarily, but in some cases, yes, even as individuals. It's not a transaction, which is the way most of us treat food. It's a relationship. Transaction means we buy it somewhere with some money and we bring it home and throw it in a cabinet or into the refrigerator or the freezer, and then we eat it. Okay. It's not that. It should be a relationship. So he argues, and I've heard Joel speak many, many times. This is the first time I've ever heard him use this analogy. So the analogy of dancing with your food. He would argue that we should be dancing with our food every time we eat it. So if we're going to do that, like any good relationship, it should require our intention and care, our thought about it. And he makes a very strong argument that, at least in America, and I think in a lot of the first world nations, we've forgotten how to dance with our food. And unfortunately, it's showing. And how is it mostly showing? Sorry, going to use the word, with fat people, overweight, unhealthy, dying early, not enjoying life, human beings, all of the above. So then again, what are the 7 qualities of a great dance partner? They're probably the same as what should be the 7 keys to good food integrity. He uses this little example down at the bottom here. How many of you can name the 3 Kardashian sisters? Most people can. But how many of you can name 3 vegetables that grow that you plant before the frost? That was the way he asked it. So give me the names of 3 vegetables, any 3, that you would plant before the frost comes out of the ground, that you don't really care. And then give me 3 more that you have to plant after frost is gone. Most people couldn't name 3. He asked the audience of 1,000 people. So here are some of the ways that we're disconnected. There are 10,000 additives, artificial, used in the US food. 10,000. Europe only allows 400. Why do we have all those additives? There are 700 plus riparian dead zones. That means a riparian area is an area where it used to have water and now it's drying up and now it's dead. There's nothing there growing. It's just dry ground. I didn't research this because I did research a couple of other things, but this one's worth researching. But another fact that he quoted was that in the 1800s, no, it was longer ago than that, in the 14 and 1500s, but less than 500 years ago, 10% of the surface area of North America was covered with water. And today it's only 4%. Now we think about the Great Lakes in the United States, Canada, the same thing. We think about rivers. We know about the big rivers. We probably all know about ponds that are around wherever we live. Some of us might live close enough to a big body of water that we would think about, that's a reservoir or a natural lake. But today, only 4% of the surface of North America is wet, is year-round water. Ponds, lakes, rivers, streams that are year-round. 500 years ago, it was 10%. What's the big thing that changed to cause that decline? There are a lot of things, but he quotes one big thing. Who knows? Who would guess what that is? Mark, you're going to have to look and tell me if anybody puts their hand up or does put something in the chat about what that one thing is. I'm going to hold that for a minute. So hold that thought. We'll come back to it. He also said, less than 10% of soil organisms have been named or studied ever. He also put his hands out and showed us standing up on the stage. By the way, he used no slides on a big screen behind him, just showed the name of the farm that was the host for this presentation, McIntyre Pastures. He didn't use a slide for the whole presentation, and people were just locked in on him. But he showed in two hands full of completely healthy soil. So it's good, well nourished and healthy soil. There are more living things than there are human beings on the planet in just two handfuls of healthy soil. It's pretty amazing if you think about that, because a microscope can see any living thing that we have in the world. So at this point, we're not talking about so tiny that you can't even use some kind of a pretty easily obtained device to see it. But there are more of that and when you look down at a bunch of soil, what you just see there is what's look like is brownish, and you call it dirt. You might see an earthworm, you might be some one or two bigger things, but probably not those little bitty things that are important. If all we did was had 3 chickens in all the households in the United States, 3 in each, we could remove 75% of the landfill in the United States. I haven't done that research. I actually did another little bit of one, which we probably won't get to today. So I'll talk about it next week. But, and that is that there was a study done in Belgium not very long ago, and I'll actually give you the details of it, where you could apply. It was done in one little town, and there were 5,000 people who lived in this little town, 5,000 families, households. And you could apply, and if you did before a certain date, you would get 3 free chickens. And you could kill them immediately, do whatever you wanted with them. But that they hope that you would then use them not to necessarily just lay eggs and give you something, that laying chickens, but instead to be let loose in your yard, and they would reduce the amount of material that would go to their landfill. Within the very first month, and then over an average of a period of time, it removed 100 tons a month of waste from the landfill from those 2,000 people. 100 tons a month, because chickens run around and scrape up and eat waste. Chickens are basically dinosaurs. They're prehistoric animals in living organisms of today bodies, and they'll eat just about anything. And so those chickens that those 2,000 people had, 6,000 of them were eating enough materials that these people threw less away, so much less that it was 100 tons a month of less. And I've done the math on that. And either this week or next week, we'll talk about what those numbers really are from an economics perspective as to how much that was a reduction in cost for this little town and an improvement in their economics because of those 2,000 households having 3 chickens each. So he broke it down into, like I said, 7 different areas. first one was interest. You got to know their name. Are you going to just go out there and dance with someone, even one dance, and probably not ask their name? How many of you ever danced with someone that you didn't know their name? Mark, you ever danced with anybody you didn't know their name?
Yes.
Yeah, but, but, but very often.
No, it's not.
No,
It's rare.
before you ended that one dance, how many of them did you not know the name of?
Maybe a couple. Not a
Not
lot.
many though, right? Not
Not
many.
many. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So you probably would know their name. Well, that was back to he asked, how many of you know 3 vegetables that you could plant before you could plant before frost is completely out of the ground? And then how many of you could name 3 vegetables that the frost has to be out of the ground? And you don't have frost where you live, Mark, so that's not a useful question there. But if you lived where there was, you'd have it.
Mhm.
All right. So you have to know your dance partner's name. So this is back to the thing I talked about before, the Kardashians. More kids can name the Kardashians than the 3 frost-sensitive vegetables. This is an interesting one. In the United States, this is North America, not probably other parts of the world, but the average home kitchen is smaller than the average home bathroom. And it's because we've got so many gadgets and things that we do. We're really participating less and less in the cooking process. Now, he's not saying that's good, bad, or indifferent. It's just the reality of what is going on. And yet, cooking from scratch has never been easier. And that's probably a metaphor that's a US used. Mark, do you hear, is that one that you would know, cooking from scratch?
Yeah, I think I have the idea, like you gather all the ingredients and start cooking. Uh, Nothing is um uh like everything is from natural ingredients, and then you start cooking. I think that's what it means.
Yeah, you're getting there. You're stumbling a little bit, which most people would do. It if it was, here's the way he'd say it. If it has a barcode on it, it's not scratch. So
Okay.
so it would be natural. So it would be a natural tomato,
Uh-huh.
sugar that came, that was naturally created. It would be, it wouldn't be processed meat. Here's an
Right.
interesting.
Yeah.
Um, he actually uses in a later slide. I'll show this the 80-20 rule in what we cook and what we eat, and that is that nobody's going to be 100% cooking from scratch, for example, but we should try to be 80%. That's probably better than most. Where most people are probably the opposite. They probably are not using scratch for 80%. They're using it for 20, and they're eating all kinds of processed food for 80% of their diet. Ignorance breeds fear, um, meaning if you don't know about something, you're probably afraid of it, where confidence brings connection. So the second key that he had, Mark, quit. Alicia, I'm going to run out of time. This is just we've got a lot we still need to get to. So we'll put whatever questions or thoughts that you have in the chat. And if she has them or anyone else does, Mark, please let me know. The second key is compatibility. Once you're dancing with someone, you probably eventually, if you're going to do it multiple times, you're going to do it tonight, you're going to do it a week from now, and whatever, you want to know if you've got similar values. Well, same thing with your food. And this is a term that's Joel's known for, is that you should know the pigness of a pig. So most people don't know that. They don't know those things. I have got to do something that I forgot about, and I'm going to go quickly do it. And while I do it, Mark, would you pull up um, Joel's? He has his own personal website. And what I've got to
Yes.
do, I've got some dogs that I forgot and left out, and they are barking.
Mhm.
And I'm afraid one of them's going to jump the fence. You don't want her to do this. This is another farming thing. She's in season, and we've got a lot of male dogs in our neighborhood, and they could breed her. And I really don't want any mongrel dogs running around in the next 6 weeks. So I'll be right back. So quickly, Mark, you take the screen away from me. I'll take it
Okay.
back when I get back and just show a little bit more of Joel and even a polyface if you want.
Okay. All right. So I will. Uh, Alicia has a link in the chat where there's a um where's Joe Salatin's uh speech. So there's some more speeches available here in on YouTube or some other websites. Let's see, Joe Salatin. There's Polyface Farm. I can go to this and yeah, look at this website and let's see. Okay, so some of these things are Wayne already talked about. And let's see. And also we can go to some of the uh, events here, educational links here. Okay, Wayne is back. We
Yeah,
can
show the
take the
apprenticeships. That's really cool.
okay.
And you know,
Yeah.
everybody, that I believe really strongly that we're going to have to go to a different kind of education. Even though I have a
Mm.
lot of college, I don't think the college educations in the future are going to cut it because you can't learn to do what this farm offers, what he offers through an apprenticeship through college. So this is a
Yeah.
picture of a bunch of the people that have gone through apprenticeships at Joel's apprenticeship program on his farm. And this is Joel over here on the right, second one from the end. I don't know if that's his wife over on the corner. I've not seen his wife recently. I think it might be. By the way, he told a story at the very first of the session yesterday that was, a little negative, but not really because of the situation. He lost his mother 2 weeks ago. She died. Well, she was 102. And he said it was time. And the last year or so, she wasn't nearly the same person she was earlier. She drove a car until she was 97. That somebody asked him after she died, "What are you going to do with her teeth?" And he said, "What do you mean?" And they said, "Well, yeah, there's probably gold or whatever." He said she never had a filling in her life. She only lost one tooth, and it was just a couple years ago. So she has all of her teeth in her mouth. We're burying her the way she is. I'm not doing anything with her teeth. So the point being there, I've got a lot of my teeth left. I'm 73. I'm opening my mouth. But up here, I just had a bridge put in, and I think two of those are not really my teeth. And then I got a gap right there on this side, right back there, and another gap up here on this side, which is missing teeth. Well, I'm actually very lucky for a person of my age that I have as many teeth as I do left. Many people have a lot less than I do, but his mother had all but one of her teeth left at that point, and when she was 90, was 102 years old. Anyway, I'll take the screen back, and we'll continue on the slides here. Takes a second for this to go away. So the key number 2 is compatibility. Remember, you got to know that dance partner. Are you compatible with them? What's a big deal in dancing that you don't want to, just the dancing side? Forget about the other part of your life. What's the pigness of a pig? What, if you're a good dancer, what don't you want to have the person you're dancing with do? Step on your feet or trip and fall down. So you want to be a decent dancer if you can be. I did not mean to do that. Anyway, I've got, we'll stay on this. I'll go back in a second. I think I have to go back to escape. Gosh, darn it. Now it's not even going backwards. I didn't do that. There we go. Let's go back to this slide again. Compatibility. And view, slideshow. And it's going to, there we go. So the pigness of a pig. Here's what a really cool one that he said. We shouldn't eat things we can't pronounce. So if it's a food you can't pronounce it, you probably shouldn't eat it. Or if you can't make it in your kitchen, shouldn't eat it. We shouldn't use subtherapeutic antibiotics and create things like superbugs. And then he's obviously not a fan of GMOs, which is genetically modified organisms, which there's all kinds of them out there now. They breach natural speciation, and those barriers exist for some good reason. And then finally, there are so many new food allergies. People today are allergic to things that they never were in the past. So just because we've changed things. So one of his quotes was, food and farming must be compatible with ecology. When we look at nature, animals move. We live in a culture that doesn't think animals should have to move. Most pigs, cattle grown to be made into food live in spaces, and pigs for certain, where they can't even roll over. They can lay down, but they can't roll over. There's not enough room. That's horrible. So something biblical. Genesis is the first book in the Bible. Doesn't mean that you have to believe in this at all, but some of us do, and I am one of those. Everything produces seed after its own kind. There's an order, and this is quoted from Joel, and we have created with our human cleverness chaos. And we've made things that are half salmon, pig, and chamomile, and then released them out into the environment. Genetically modified organisms. Third key, and we're only going to get through probably this one, and we'll stop, and we'll go on to the last 4 next week, is reputation. What do they leave in their wake? So in a dance, when you leave the dance floor, do people talk about you that saw you dancing? And if they do they talk about you in a good way or in a bad way? He talked a lot about stinking food. And this is very true. Good farms are aromatically aroma coming in and aesthetically, sensually romantic. Very cool statement. Good farms are aromatically and aesthetically, sensually romantic. Pretty cool. Stressed animals cook slower. That's an interesting one. So therefore, you got to add more heat, use more energy to cook stressed animals. And you're eating their cortisol, which gets produced by stress, which isn't good. There is a dead zone the size of Rhode Island in the Gulf of Mexico. That's just a reality. That means that there's an area as big as that state in the Gulf of Mexico. I don't know that I believe this, but he said it. that they have a 24/7 open door policy at Polyface at their farm, which means you can show up there 24 hours a day and come to see anything unannounced. They even have a sign that says, instead of no trespassing, like you'd see in a lot of places, trespassers impress, meaning if you're there on the land and you haven't gotten anybody's permission, we're impressed with that. So that's good. Trespassers impress. And instead of saying no trespassers or trespassers not welcome or anything negative. The relevance of that was that's like, again, if you're ashamed of what you eat, probably shouldn't be eating it. Regulations that block small producers, and there are those, and they've gotten worse over time, is what he calls food tyranny, not food safety, and yet they'd call it food safety. Can you eat happiness? Yes. Can you eat stress? Yes. And that's where his comment about meat cooks 10-15% faster than conventional because our animals aren't stressed. That's his meat from their farm. So it's 4 minutes before the top of the hour. And let's see if we've got any other comments or questions. Lots of stuff in the chat. There's in our chat, there's going to be lots of links to Joel Salatin. He is a highly quoted individual. There's a link about composting. There's lots of them. That's just one that's in here. Just see if there's anything else. Hi, Dr. Fuhr. Good to have you. This is kind of interesting. I didn't know there's Isaac Newton, who lived 50 years ago, right? I think he died more than 50 years ago. I don't know whether this is probably one of those where you got to pay for it. It won't show you the article. See if it shows it. Letter from Sir Isaac Newton. No, I would have to, and this just makes me mad. I've got to pay for the New York Post to be able to read this. So you can't look at it exactly because I don't have a subscription to the New York Post. All right. Any other last questions? I'm going to pull up something real quick. This is coming from my super agent. Here's where I asked it to do the math on this Belgian city where there's 3 chickens and 2,000 households. So I asked a bunch of questions about costs. So here we go. Here's their actual story. Wait a minute. That's tomorrow. This is interesting. He wrote, this is written by this is so cool. Mark, this is written by Wilma. Look at it. It said the Economics Digest, all right? Profit, Planet, Purpose by me
Right.
tomorrow. What 3 chickens did to a Belgian city's landfill and what it tells us about every problem we think is unsolvable. Small city in Flanders gave away 6,000 chickens. 2 years later, and 2,400 tons of diverted waste, the math makes a case that every mayor, city planner, and policymaker in America should be forced to read. Here we go. Joel Salatin told the story. Diest, Belgium, 24,000 people. He actually, I thought it said 5,000. It doesn't matter, but and there were 2,000 of them said yes, we'll take the chickens. So they gave 6,000 chickens to 2,000 people, and within months the landfill intake dropped by 100 tons. Okay, so what are the costs? So laying hens in Belgium at that time cost about 5 to 10 pounds, which is about $15 to $25. So let's use 20. The hens cost 120,000. They had to do some kind of an advertising outreach campaign to get people to sign up. And let's say that cost 30,000. Just to do all the administrative work maybe cost another 18. Then they actually gave them, I didn't realize this, but they gave them bedding, feed, and info packet of how to raise them. That cost 20. So the total investment was 188,000. So we're going to say it's 200,000 to be generous. For a city of 24,000, that's $8.33 per resident. Or framed another way, $100 per participating household. Okay. The benefit, what the landfills say. Municipal waste in the US runs about $55 to $100 per ton, depending on the region. That's the cost. Europeans are similar or comparable. So we used $68 a ton as the baseline. The landfill savings over that time were these numbers here. So the direct savings were 163,000 plus other things. There was methane captured, so and there was leachate treatment that added another savings of 108,000. So the total savings was 271, and that's before we count the eggs. And that means that if you count the eggs and see what they've done. Production of 750 eggs, $281. The household value of food generated was $1,124,000. So the final ledger looks like this. It cost 200 grand, generated 271,000 in savings from landfill, generated 1.2 million in food that was generated. So what does that mean? Those people didn't have to buy those eggs. They were producing them, which is a 677% return on investment over 2 years. So that means that that number is wrong. Oh, each dollar. So for every dollar they invested, they got $6.77 back. What a great story. So anyway, that's the way this kind of ends up. And that was a quote from Joel. Is that it's immoral and unconscionable, and 75% of what goes into landfills is uncompostable. So that's my story. I'm going to publish that tomorrow in LinkedIn. So that's why I had my super agent here do that math for us. So I didn't think that she was going to actually create this. This artifacts is something that's relatively new. And now I'm going to have to ask, how do I actually publish this? Because I have to publish. Let me just show you. Well, we're going to end on this. This is going a little bit long today, but this is good stuff. So here's my LinkedIn account. Actually, we'll show it here. Remember, we are all so transparent here. And every day for about the last 2 months, I've done one LinkedIn post, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then on Friday, I've done what's called an article. That's what this article, which is here, that Wilma is suggesting that she just wrote for me at my request for putting that math in. So if we go down and look at the analytics, I had an interesting thing happen. Here are articles that I've written in the last week or so. Here's the most recent one. And it's had 165 impressions and one comment. And that's typical. This just got published a little bit earlier today. And this is about this water well drilling, which you heard a little bit about from Joe that we were talking earlier. But yesterday, so this was today. Here's what I published yesterday. So we're going to go back here. I published this article about the environmental consulting industry and a dirty secret of it. Look at this, Mark. Look how many impressions that it had. 16,738. And
Wow.
look at this. Now, as we go to the next one from the day before, which I think is a pretty cool looking article, a picture. You're just seeing the pictures. And these are AI pictures, but this looks just like Viking. Viking, come here, buddy. He's sitting right here by me. Viking, Viking, come here, bud. Here. I'm going to show you him. So just to show you, you tell me if that looks like this animal, this dog. Come here, Viking. Come on up here. Come here, buddy. Right here. Here, I'll put the camera on him.
There's Viking.
Tell me if that dog there laying underneath, if this dog kind of looks a little bit like that. I think it looks a lot like that, actually. It's even got a little gray on his face. Viking's got a little gray around his face. This dog does. But anyway, 300 impressions. Now we're back 3 days ago, 140, 171, 203, 86, 270. Here's one that's more, 753, 101. Okay. Oops, didn't mean to do that. I clicked one too far. That was actually going to write the article. But now let's go back. What was that one before?
16,777.
Now,
wow.
Let's just, even in the time it's going to take me to go screen this way, remember that number, 16,777. Okay, Let's go this way. And it's 306, 140, 171, 303, 80, 270. Okay. Now I'm going to refresh. And look again. Oops, didn't want that. Get rid of that. Okay. Here it is. It's this one. How long was that? 20 seconds? It's gone to 16,789.
Wow. So it's
why? I have no idea. I really don't know what's going on with it.
Yes, it's going viral.
It's going viral, and I don't know why. And you know, there have been 12 comments. Some of them are pretty negative, some are positive. There's even somebody that's commented on another person's comment, which is pretty cool. Here, this guy, this is, you know, the article is really about people working either for big environmental firms or working on their own.
Right.
And it's just going nuts. Don't know why.
Wow.
Here, look, now it's up to 813. So it went from 77, and it was 03. And every time we look at it, let's refresh it one more time, one last time. Okay. And here we go. And what's it at now? 842. It went from 13 to 42. And how long was that, Mark? 10 seconds?
Maybe 10 seconds, yes.
That's viral. It's ridiculously viral. And I don't even know why. It's not even the picture's weird. So what it's showing is, you know, people looking at their screens this direction and other people standing on this side, sitting on this side, looking at whatever they're looking at and tablets and so on. I mean, I don't quite even understand the picture that it was done that it did for me. All right, everybody. It was a great day, great week, lots of life going on. We're all going to learn from it. So appreciate